phones, Babylons can't crack the code.
The 2021 college football regular season has officially wrapped up and ended. This season was very entertaining to watch and cover as a fan. I really enjoyed covering the season as it has gone on, and I look forward to covering even more in the offseason. But in today's video, this is B. Kelly, back again with another banger video. And in today's video, y'all, I am going to be talking about my top 5 most surprising teams in the 2021 campaign. Now, before I move on with the video, guys, remember to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, as we are on the road to 10K. Now let's get into it. I do have 5 honorable mentions for this video that did not crack into my top 5. The first team is BYU. BYU lost a lot of production from last season, yet they are still a top 15 team, and they finished 10-2, and they had some pretty good wins as well. The next is Pitt. Pitt won the ACC. Nobody saw them winning the ACC, maybe not even Pitt fans, and they finished 11-2, and they currently rank as the number 13 team in the nation. Wake Forest, yet again another ACC team. I did not expect them to be this good this season, as they were 10-3 and they made it all the way to the ACC championship game, and they're currently ranked 20th. Arkansas. I thought Arkansas was going to be a good team, but I didn't think they were honestly going to be an 8-4 team, especially in the SEC. And my last one is South Carolina, who finished 6-6 in the regular season. They had some pretty solid wins for their program, and I did not expect them to actually go bowling at all, or really be close to going bowling either. The first team I am going to be talking about in today's video comes from the Big 12, and that's none other than the Big 12 champions in Baylor. Now, Baylor in 2020 had a rough season to say the least in the first year under Dave Aranda. The defense was actually pretty solid, but the offense was absolutely dormant as they went 2-7, not anywhere close of going to a bowl game. And in 2021, going into it, they weren't seen as one of the top Big 12 teams. Some people didn't even have them going to a bowl game. I thought they were going to a bowl game at 6-6 to 7-5, but they blew away everybody. Their defense, it was great, and their offense with new offensive coordinator was even better. The offense looked alive, and with that good stout defense that they have, the team was really good as they finished 11-2 on the season with a great Big 12 championship appearance and title. And for a team to go from 2-7 in 2020 to being currently ranked as the number 6 team in the nation, just being the second team out of the playoff race, I would say that is extremely surprising. On to the next team. We're sticking with the Big 12 Conference with none other than the Big 12 runner-up in Oklahoma State. Now in 2020, Oklahoma State, in my opinion, was disappointing. They had a lot of hype going in, even some hype to win the Big 12 and potentially even go to the playoffs because they had Chuba Hubbard and Tylan Wallace returning, especially with a lot of other talent that they had on that team, but they ultimately went 8-3 and went to the Cheez-It Bowl. Going into 2021, Oklahoma State pretty much had zero hype at all to make the Big 12 championship game and to even win it at all. They were seen as the 4th best team in the Big 12, and people thought they were going to lose to Iowa State, Oklahoma, Texas, and maybe someone else and be like an 8-4 team just because they were losing Tylan Wallace and Chuba Hubbard on offense, and as well with Tevin Jenkins. But that was far from the truth, as Oklahoma State had a top 5 defense in football, and they were making plays every game, and they were making plays to win games constantly. They would end up finishing the year 11-2, and they were runner-ups in the Big 12 championship game versus Baylor. And they were literally a half a yard short from winning the Big 12 and potentially making their first ever playoff appearance. Switching things up, the next team I'm going to be talking about is Michigan State from the Big 10. Now, Michigan State in 2020 was not the best team ever. They went 2-5 in 7 games played in a very weird season with a first-year head coach in Mel Tucker. But in 2021, Michigan State has shocked literally everybody. Nobody expected Michigan State to have a 10-win season, especially in year 2 of Mel Tucker's time at Michigan State, and they're even number 5 in the AP polls at one point, and it looked like if they did their thing and controlled their own destiny, they could easily be a playoff team, especially with some of the games they had left on their schedule. Now, as you know it, Michigan State would not make the playoffs. They would finish the year 10-2 with losses to Ohio State and Purdue, and they're currently the number 10 team in the nation, but they are going to play in the Peach Bowl versus Pitt. This has been a remarkable season for Michigan State, especially in year 2 of the Mel Tucker era. Staying in the Big Ten, it would be a travesty if I did not talk about Michigan. Michigan in 2020. Easily one of the more disappointing teams in college football. They were a top 25 team and they finished 2-4. Going into 2021, nobody was buying the hype this time. They had previous seasons where they were ranked high in the preseason polls. They had hype heading into the season, but it was the same thing over and over again. Just not living up to expectations and not winning the big games that they needed to win. And people were counting them out in the beginning, and I was one of those people. The thing is, Michigan State has been one of the best teams in college football. They're 12-1 for a reason, and they're currently the number 2 team in the nation. And will be making their first ever playoff appearance, in which they will be playing Georgia. I understand I might be getting some hate in the comments for my final team I will be talking about. The final team I will be talking about in today's video is from the SEC, and that's none other than Tennessee. I will admit it here first. I was not high on Tennessee at all going into the season. And the main reason was they were losing some pretty good production from their team to the transfer portal because of a lot of the things they had going down. They lost their head coach. They were hiring a new coach from UCF in Josh Heupel, in which some people thought may have not been the correct hire. And they were coming off a 3-7 season where they were one of the more disappointing teams since they were seen as a top 25 team heading in and were even in the AP high at ranked 14. I feel like nobody was really high at all on Tennessee heading into the season, and I was definitely not one of them. But after watching them play this season, I feel like this is one of their best years in a very, very long time. Yes, they did finish 7-5, but something seemed different about this team. They definitely improved from 2020 to 2021, especially with all the talent that they lost on their team from the last season to the current season. And the team honestly has looked a lot better. I mean, yes, they're 7-5, and 7-5 records may not be the most impressive, but knowing this team is coming off a disappointing season, they lost a lot of production to the transfer portal. They had a first-year head coach, and they're playing in the tough SEC. I would consider this season a complete success. Well, guys, if you have made it this far in the video, drop something down in the comments below for future video suggestions, and who are your top 5 surprising teams in college football for this current 2021 season. And before you head out, remember to smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, and subscribe if you haven't already. B. Kelly, out.